Okay, guys. Uh, we're all learning through this. So this is like the third time tonight I've tried to do this, and so we're gonna do it. I keep running out of time. I'm long-winded, y'all know that. So let's see if we can get through this a little bit faster, and I can get all the way through this information in my allotted 15 minutes that I have. So anyway, this screen, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. It tells you step by step what your instructions are for the week. Look and understand the slideshow, which I'm going to narrate here really quick. Make sure that you do the food chain, food web analysis. These are all in your classroom. And that's just a document that you type the answers in. You all have your own copy. Then click turn in when you're done. And then there's a food chain project, and I'll show you an example of that at the end as well. But again, don't forget, reach out to me if things aren't working, if you need any help. Anything else, let me know. I'm here to help you, and I want to make sure that you're all successful. So just a quick update. Last week, 140 students, only about 70 of you all did the work and turned it in. So if you haven't done that work, try to get to it. But the most important work is this week and moving forward from this week. Last week was just kind of a practice run. Okay, so make sure y'all are doing the work and engaging and reaching out to me if you have any questions. Okay, all right. So this is all review from seventh grade food webs, food chains. So this is going to be quick and easy. This week should be super, super easy. All right, so this is all about energy flow. How does energy get from the sun to you? So, of course, almost all the energy that we have here on Earth comes from the sun, and it originates from the sun or originated from the sun millions and millions of years ago. Coal, oil, natural gas, all of those things are made from the remains or once living creatures who got their energy from the sun millions of years ago. It's just been buried in the earth and stored. So there are some exceptions to the sun part: nuclear energy, wind energy, hydroelectric, which is water, and geothermal do not come directly from the sun. Now, wind energy, you can kind of argue wind energy is created by the sun because of the different heating that we talked about last week that creates high pressure, low pressure, which creates winds. That's from the sun, but it's not from the sun. It's caused by the sun. Okay, so how do we as living things, or all living things, access this energy? It depends on what kind of organism you are. If you're a producer, that means you're a photosynthetic organism and you use the sun to take carbon dioxide, water, sunlight, poof, magic, chemical reaction. You create glucose and oxygen, which are the two most important things for living things. Other than plants, we need to be able to breathe, and we need glucose in our cells for energy. Consumers like us, we get our energy from consuming other organisms, either other plants or other animals. So this is the energy pyramid. So the bottom shows you where all of the energy basically is stored. When the sun's energy gets to Earth, it's all stored in all of our producers: grass, plants, flowers, trees. It's all stored there. Then the primary consumer comes in, an herbivore or an omnivore, which is an animal that eats both meat and plants. Omnivores, herbivores just eat plants. They come in, they get their energy from the plants, and then they keep it, use it to live. They use about 90% of it to stay alive and do their thing. 10% of it then gets passed on to the organism above it that eats it. So in this picture here, you see the monkey there, the bonobo that eats the insect larva. That monkey's only going to get about 10% of the energy from the larva. And then with a crocodile, I know that's kind of sad to think that the crocodile could eat something so cute, but that's nature. When the crocodile eats that monkey, the crocodile is only going to get 10% of that because the monkey used 90% of it to do monkey things. So over here on the right, it just talks about producers, mainly photosynthetic, all photosynthetic organisms, primary consumers, mostly herbivores and omnivores. Secondary consumers are mostly carnivores and maybe some omnivores, and tertiary consumers are carnivores. Now, Remember, omnivore eats both plant and animal. We as humans, most of us, with the exception of vegetarians, are omnivores. Another example of an omnivore out in the wild would be like a bear. A bear eats berries and eats fish, so that would make him an omnivore. Okay. Next one, food chains. A food chain basically shows how each living thing gets food and how those nutrients or energy moves through the ecosystem. So you've got three examples there. You got corn, energy from the corn goes into the rat, energy from the rat goes into the owl. Same thing, next one. And each one of those different chains has multiple different numbers of organisms in it. So you got in the corn, producer, primary, secondary consumer, producer, primary, secondary, tertiary consumer, producer, primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, quarter, 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters in a dollar, fourth level consumer, quaternary consumer. Okay. And I know I'm speeding through this fast, but I want to make sure that I come in under my allotted time. If you have any questions, you can always read this on the copy that I gave you or email me. Okay. So sorry if I feel like I'm rushing through this, but I want to make sure I touch base on all of it. All right, so let's go to the next slide if I can. There it is. Oh, so this is something I remember. Both my boys used to watch this show when they were younger, and I always thought it was the weirdest thing in the world. But it kind of reminded me of a song that I remember that Finn did in this show. So if you push play, it should go straight to the song. If not, you can watch it all if you want. There's absolutely nothing educational about that video, but I just thought it was funny. So feel free to watch that at your leisure. All right, so food webs. A food web is basically you take all the different individual food chains and weave them together, and then you create the food web. So this shows all of the feeding relationships in an ecosystem. So you've got all the producers down there at the bottom. You got all of the primary consumers, which are the organisms that eat the producers. Pika, I'm not even going to try to read them all. You can see them. All those animals down there. And then remember, arrows always show the direction of energy, not who eats who. Okay. So if you look over here, this ringtail is not going to eat the coyote. Okay, and this jackrabbit is not going to eat the mountain lion. Those arrows are showing what direction the energy is flowing. Okay. Well, one thing I do want to bring up to you is if you look at the mountain lion, if he eats the pine marten here, he's a tertiary consumer, third level. But if the mountain lion eats the mule deer, he's a secondary consumer. Okay, so organisms aren't assigned a level permanently. So if I go and eat a salad for lunch, I'm a primary consumer. If I have a steak for lunch, then I'm a secondary consumer because I'm eating the cow that ate the grass. So in one meal, you could be different levels of consumer. So if you're having a salad with your steak, you can be two different levels of consumers. If you're eating a burger, you're eating bread, which is plant-based, and meat all at one time in one big bite. So in one bite, you could be both a primary and a secondary consumer. Okay. So kind of look through that and see if you can pick out some different individual food chains in that diagram. Okay. All right. So last thing, just some important vocabulary that you need to make sure you understand. Producers make their own energy through photosynthesis. And this might be a new word for you all. I think it was a new word for you in 7th grade, but you need to understand that autotroph is just a different word for a producer. Auto means self, like automatic, self-running. Autotroph, troph means feed. So autotrophs are self-feeding. They feed themselves because they make their own food. Okay. Over on the consumer side, they are called heterotrophs. Hetero is a prefix that means different. So they are different feeders. So that means they don't make their own food. They have to acquire energy from eating other things. Again, those three words, the vores, herbivores are those organisms that eat only plants. Carnivores are those organisms that eat only meat. and omnivores are those that eat both. And then again, I put there the 10% rule. Energy flows through the ecosystem. Only 10% moves up a level. So if we go back to that pyramid, remember the 10% rule, only 10% of the energy moves up. So there's energy lost sometimes going from one place to another. So it's not a perfect system. That crocodile, again at the top, very small part of the pyramid at the top, that's where the least amount of energy is available. So the sun sends all of it down. That's why the biggest portion of the pyramid down there at the bottom is for the producers, because we lose 90% of the energy moving up from one level to the next. Okay. So the higher you go, the more you kind of have to eat in order to acquire the energy. Okay. All right. I think that's it. So cool. I have about 4 more minutes. So let me really quick talk to you about the project. Or actually, let's talk about the worksheet really quick. So this is the worksheet that you'll get. You'll have your own copy. You've got a food chain right there, and then you've got some questions. So all you're going to do is just type in your answers in there. And then the second page is about this food web. So here in the thing, you're going to type in all the producers that you see, the primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. And then this is kind of looking forward to next week. Producer-consumer relationships, just name two predator-prey relationships in the food. We're checking to see if you remember what predator-prey looks like. And then I also want to see if you remember what decomposers do. I didn't talk about it in the video. I didn't say anything about it, but again, this is all kind of reviewed. So that's the worksheet. The project looks like this. This is what you're going to get. You're going to have the instructions here, like this. Let me close this theme over here. So you're going to get the instructions like this. You're going to get a title page. So put your name in there, and you're going to pick a different ecosystem. So forest, grasslands, desert, aquatic, any ecosystem you want. And then on this blank page, you're going to create a food chain. Okay, not a food web, a food chain. Okay, so this is an example of mine. Okay, and of course I went all out. So I put a background of a grassland in there. The sun was already there, so I just labeled it. Notice how I labeled what it is and what kind of consumer it is or producer it is all the way through. So this is actually going up to a quaternary consumer. Okay. So again, just to quickly review, what you need to do is go back to the slideshow. You've got this video and you've got the slideshow to watch. Go through this information, read it, understand it, then do the worksheet, the food chain web analysis worksheet, submit that, make sure you click turn in, then do the food chain project. Okay, and again, if you have any other questions or you're confused, or if I went through this too fast because there's only a 15-minute limit on these videos, I totally get it. But I want to try to make this as just like I do in the class. I talk to you about things, then I let you work. If you have questions, you come see me. Of course, you can't come see me, so email me and I'll help you out. Okay, guys? Hope everything's going well. Make sure y'all are staying at home, following the rules. We want to get through this as fast as we possibly can. I appreciate, again, all those guys and girls that have done the work already. Keep it up. We're trying not to load you down too much, but we still need to make sure that we're staying focused on school. School is still in session, and we don't want you to have too big of gaps before y'all go to high school next year. And of course, doing the work is kind of part of having to go to high school. So do the work. Okay? It's simple. It's a lot easier. If you have any questions, make sure you get with me. I miss you guys. Hope everything's all right. Take it easy. Be safe.